Rena.
Hello.
Welcome, Rena.
Thank you. Thank you so much, actually, to everyone and to DCOTA for putting this Creative Lens series together.
Thank you. We're very proud of it. And I'll go into the announcements later, but we'll talk more about the next ones. So, Rena, I love everything that you're doing with real estate, your brokerage. Pulse International Realty is amazing. And I wanted to also get into kind of like the background and the kind of like the firsts that got you to where you are today. And so if you could tell us a little bit more about your first experience, or one that you can remember, with architecture and how that impacted you. And was that what influenced you into going into real estate?
Well, I started my real estate career in New York. And so I would say that when I first became enchanted with what I thought was beautiful historic architecture I was really fortunate to work in an office on Broadway between 73rd and 74th Street, which is directly across from the Ansonia, which is just extraordinary. I would get out of the subway every morning and go to the little patisserie that was there on the ground floor and just take it all in. It had so much history, and Kobe was talking about, historic structures, and it was actually one of the firsts for him as well. Just, you delve into the history of something. It was probably the first building that attempted to have some sort of sustainable aspect to it. They had a farm on the roof. It was a scandalous building, which is so fun to read about. It was Plato's Retreat. It was a gay bathhouse. Bette Midler used to sing there. Barry Manilow was her accompanist. It just had so much going on, but structurally, absolutely gorgeous. It was built by Copper Air and Dodge Stokes, and all the detail and the grandeur of it, and the foyers. It was built as a hotel residence,
Oh.
So it was.
We didn't invent it in Miami, huh?
Yeah, and there you go. But so I took that all in, and I just thought, oh my God, now I'm in this business where I get to, climb to the rooftops of these buildings, and I do that. I make a point of doing it with every property that I sell. I do a great deal of commercial as well, and I make it a point of walking those rooftops and going into those basements and getting into the history of the buildings. I was honored to have time to pick Kobe's brain about the Four Seasons, about the Surf Club, and it's extraordinary.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. I love understanding like the first for people, because it's so impactful, like that first experience of something, specifically architecture, where you can walk through history or touch history. You go to Europe and you touch a building and it's thousands of years old. It stays with you forever. And so I really love to touch on the firsts. And actually, speaking of first, tell us about closing your first real estate deal. How has that experience influenced you as a person, real estate broker, and a business owner?
What did I learn from it? Absolutely everything. Because if anything could go wrong, it did. And it was fantastic. I started, like I said, about 18 years ago, a single mom. I was hungry, and I was passionate about what I was doing, and still am. And I really wanted to. I was on the Upper West Side, and I was going to own that Upper West Side. So I found this building on 71st Street, right off of Broadway, which was just a little building right next to a beautiful grand building. And I thought, with these gorgeous gates, and I was like, let's start with the little one. And I did my homework, and I found out, who was managing it and who owned it. And I marched into those offices, and I demanded that I wanted to rent or sell those units, that I wanted that to be mine. And it's right around the corner from my office, and I pitched myself, and I went. And they were like, okay, fine, stop coming here, and just, here's a studio on the ground floor. And I was like, yeah. So I rented this little studio. It was like 400 square feet. I don't remember what I rented it for, but I rented out the studio. And then I went back and I said, okay, I rented it, now I want to sell it. And they were like, okay, fine, sell it. Just stop bothering us. So I had these clients that were from upstate New York, and they were investors. And I thought, great, have a tenant in there, and I just started, I'm like using my formulas. I'm like, I got this, I know how to do this. So I got them, I sold it to them, and lo and behold, here's the stuff that started to go wrong. The tenant disappeared, so now there's no income. But that's okay, because then I got a rental listing out of it, so it's okay. The day before closing, I went to just do like another once over and sort of take it in like, I'm selling this little studio for $400,000. And I noticed a leak in the ceiling. So, you start trying to fix that problem. And then after it closed, I went to drop off a closing gift. And when I went to drop off the closing gift, we somehow missed the one item of food that the tenant that took off left in the mini fridge. And when I opened it, you won't get to the hors d'oeuvres. It was terrible. So here I am, dragging this mini fridge out to the back of the building on 71st off of Broadway, finding a hose from the super, spraying it down, trying to, it was just like, it was such a mess, but it got done. The clients were happy. I got them another renter, but it taught me a lot. It taught me about perseverance and tenacity. It taught me about it ain't over till it's over, that's for sure.
I know you're going to be very biased, because I'm very biased of my favorite city, but what is your favorite city of architectural inspiration and why? And what role does that play in your personal life and work as a broker?
Okay, so the first city that comes to mind is actually Rome. When I traveled there is just this passion and connection that I feel with it. I don't know why. It could be because of my theater background back in another lifetime, that the amphitheaters and the atriums absolutely speak to me.
That sounds like a whole nother panel. We'll have you back.
A whole nother panel. The domes, but everything about it, the domes, the arches, they're curvaceous and beautiful and romantic, yet so strong and have so much history that I get drunk on that city. I can just walk and walk and walk, and the piazzas, and it's just, I find all the history that's there. And I mean, structurally, the utilitarian structures, we're so archaic, and the bridges and the aqueducts, I think there's so much, and these gentlemen can speak to that better than I can, as to how that relates to being in South Florida, and all of the bridges that have to be, part of our infrastructures being surrounded by water. But I think there's so much to learn from, the Roman architecture.
I love it. And tell us about your personal involvement in the process of finding the perfect property for your clients, and where does it stop? Does it stop at the closing of the property, or do you go beyond?
It never stops at the closing of the property, largely because it continues even to places like here, like DCOTA. So and I build relationships with my clients that I think it's safe to say that I have never done just one transaction with any one of my clients. They come back for more, because it's a relationship business, and you need to maintain these relationships and cultivate these relationships. So I'm sorry, what was the first part of the question?
Tell us about your personal involvement in the process of finding the perfect property.
It's different. It's different for every client. I think the most important thing is I tend to work a lot on the buyer side, and so I'm sitting with them and getting to know their initial needs and wants. And so once I establish, they sort of tell you it on the surface, but then as you start to investigate and go around and see what it is that they really need and want, you get to understand more of what they're looking for. And so you can dig really, really deep. You get to know clients, or you should get to know your clients really well. You do spend a lot of time with them. There should be conversation about everything. Every client is different based on even, this person could be looking for a building, and this person could be looking for a building, or they can both be looking for land, but their exit strategy is different. Their vision is different. Their reasoning for even coming to the table is different. So it changes everything. So it's different from the very first moment you meet your client to the end. I never have a cookie cutter day. I never have a cookie cutter meeting. ever,
Thank God,
which
right?
I love. Yeah.
That's actually one aspect that I really love about our industry is that every day is kind of unexpected and totally different.
And people are different. You really need to look
Exactly.
at, people are individuals, and so their goals are individual goals. And you need to have a full picture in order to serve them properly. It's still a service industry, and I pride Pulse on being, soup to nuts. We, will find you the property. We will connect you with the talent that you need in order to get it off the ground, whether it's residential or commercial, or, I have clients that are looking to build basically cities, so then you really have to also tap into who can assist them with the infrastructure, and then right through to design.
I love that, full service. And that's so important also because clients are looking for that full service, not just from the property standpoint or from the building standpoint or from the architecture standpoint. I think everyone's kind of just so used to that ever complete, experience of everything. Everything is experiential now, where, you can't just go and buy a property and then, hand keys over and they're done. They're like, no, wait, hey, I need the inside of my house. I need art now. Hey, I bought a plot of land now. I need an architect now. I need to build it. So it's ever going. And like you said, it's all about relationships. I love that. Do you have a favorite project or client in your portfolio?
I cannot say who my favorite client is. That's terrible.
Well, maybe a project. Maybe a project.
I love taking on clients and projects that are big picture clients. Visionaries. Sometimes they're visionarians. Sometimes they need the talent that's sitting here beside me to help them, envision it even larger. But I like working on projects where I'm seeing something change. I like, doing a lot of the dirty work. The luxury market is fun and it's great and it's beautiful and it's lucrative, but the down and dirty side of it, of putting together assemblages and looking at a city and understanding an emerging market and being able to have the vision of seeing what's coming and getting it at the right time and putting together opportunity where we were actually talking about this earlier. The clients that can afford to buy it and land bank, or maybe, I'll sell them some smaller houses so that we can put it all together at a later date so that these gentlemen can come in and do their magic, but in the meantime, they'll earn some, they get to earn some capital on it because there's income on what's existing there. So there's so many different ways. And I like those projects because there's just all this,
There's
planning and
layers
thinking, and there are layers. Yeah, layers is a great word. Yeah.
I love it. Okay, great. And what would you say has been the biggest factor in your success? What has the art of collaboration with architects, designers, builders, and developers played in your success?
I think I was smiling before when Kobe said, 2 ears and 1 mouth, because I have said that to my children forever. I'm like, you have to listen twice as much as you speak because there is so much to learn. And I think that has a lot to do with success. It's listening. It's listening to the clients, listening to, the talented people that you should surround yourself with. I've told my kids, you should never be the smartest person in the room. You always have to learn. And I think really listening to what the client's needs are, as opposed to wanting to ram a specific listing down their throat, and say, no, this is what I need to sell right now, so you need to buy this and be interested in it. That doesn't work. It's what works for you. Let me listen to what your needs are and fulfill those. And if I can meet the majority of the criteria, and that's what I ask them, what's your criteria, whether it's residential or commercial, what's your criteria? What's important to you? Is it the schools? Is it the neighborhood? Is it, the size of the rooms? Is it the backyard? Depending. For everyone, it's different. And again, it's not a cookie cutter sort of like tick off the boxes.
Right.
You need to have these conversations and really listen to what's important to them, and then help them find what is going to make them and their family, or them and their investors, happy. So I think listening surrounding yourself with other people that have the knowledge that you don't have in other areas. You know, you can't be perfect and super knowledgeable at everything, so you need to collaborate. And I love, my relationships are relationships that I've cultivated over the course of, of my career between here and New York. And I love sharing that with my team, because this way I know when they're going in to meet with a client, they have a full, strong force behind them to say, yes, we have an architect, yes, we have a builder, yes, we have a designer, yes, we have a contractor, and we can facilitate it from the beginning to end, and without losing, in all honesty, strategically, you don't want to lose control of your client. It's very easy. There's no guarantee that they're working just with you. The likelihood is they're not. So you need to wow them by giving them everything you can.
I love that, yeah. And because we are in an industry that is so reliant on collaboration, I love everything that you said, because it's true. It's all about relationships. It's all about, what's important to the client on so many different levels, whether it's, designing, merging something that's historic to something new, or, different parcels of land to be able to demolish it later and build it new with a new architect and new builder. Whatever it is that it's important to them, it's actually one of my questions that I have on my questionnaire when I meet with a client. It's actually one of the first ones, because that will give you everything. That will tell you everything you need to ask or need to know for the rest of the project. So that's really great. What would you say to anyone in our audience right now that is in real estate or any related field who hasn't partnered with an architect, designer, or builder yet?
I think it's more than a matter of partnering or collaborating. You need to cultivate and build these relationships. You need to get to know the people that you're working with, so that when you're doing it, you're not just referring a name on a list. You need to refer people with confidence that are a testament to the way that you work. Otherwise, so it's not just pick an architect or a builder or a contractor designer out of a book. Get to know the people that you're working with, create relationships, introduce them to your team if you have one. Make sure that you are knowledgeable about what their projects are, what they've done, what their strengths are, so that you know who to refer to who. It's not just, here's a card. This is your name. This is your reputation also, and the people you refer are your reputation. So it needs to be done, with confidence that you've investigated. But the collaboration is extraordinarily important. People are busy. People are so busy. What could be better than having a one-stop shop?
Exactly.